बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। वंडरफुल क्लब के हर लजीज साथियों, आप सबको खुश आमदीद एंड गुड इवनिंग। आज का जो विजडम टॉक के ऊपर हम सेशन करेंगे, और ये ट्रैवर्स ज़िंदगी में द आर्ट ऑफ लिविंग, ज़िंदगी गुजारना इतना आसान नहीं है और ये मुश्किल काम है। और जो ऑब्स्टेकल्स ऑफ द पाथ, ज़िंदगी के रास्ते में जो हमें मुश्किलात आती हैं, उनको किस तरह से देखना चाहिए और किस तरह उनको ऑब्जर्व करना चाहिए, तो इसके ऊपर ये टॉक है। और आई होप कि आपको ये टॉक पसंद आएगी और इसको समझने की कोशिश कीजिएगा प्लीज़, और सुनने की कोशिश कीजिएगा 2-3 दफ़ा, मे बी आप इसको अंडरस्टैंड कर पाएंगे, और वैसे मुश्किल हो जाएगा आपके लिए। तो लेट्स स्टार्ट करते हैं प्लीज़, और मेरे साथ रहिएगा, मैं भी आपके साथ इसको सुनूंगा। थैंक यू वेरी मच। Obstacles is the way.
There's a Zen proverb that says the obstacle is the path. One of the best ways to understand this teaching is by observing a river. When you look at a powerful river with rapids, you notice that what creates the rapid is the current of water colliding with the boulder. The boulder is what unlocks the ferocity of the river. No boulder, no rapid. In yoga we say no mud, no lotus. You can't have the beauty of the lotus without the grittiness of the mud. In life, obstacles are a part of life. How you deal with them is the art of life.
This is the art of life.
This might be a bitter pill to swallow, but the universe isn't here to make you happy. It's here to awaken you.
True.
And in order to awaken to your potential, you must face and persevere through obstacles, challenges, and resistance. I was once speaking with a well-known Shaolin warrior monk, and we were discussing the importance of having a teacher, even when you've been a teacher yourself for many years. We both shared how we've been going through phases where we didn't have a teacher and how tough that was. So eventually he started searching the world for a special master. That search went on for quite some time, and finally he found someone. And he said to me, "Do you know how I knew that I had found the right teacher? It was because he gave me the most amount of resistance, and I knew it was because of this resistance that I would grow the most." Scottish philosopher Thomas Carlyle said, "Adversity is the diamond dust heaven polishes its jewels with."
True.
The next time you find yourself bumping up against an obstacle, remember it might be there to ignite growth and facilitate awakening.
True.
Obstacles not only exist outside of ourselves, but can also manifest internally in our own minds and hearts.
आउटसाइड तो है ही, लेकिन हमारे इंसानी ज़हन के अंदर जो हमारे माइंड में है, उनकी बात कर रहे हैं।
The heart can't delete.
और उसको डिलीट कैसे?
Past traumas we've experienced in life and that we still carry with us today are called the unfinished business of the heart.
Unfinished business of the heart
If you
is
don't
very
deal with these
important
demons,
sentence.
they deal with you. Hiding out inside the dungeon of your mind, lifting weights and getting stronger and stronger until they seem invincible.
True.
So dealing with the demons, healing the unfinished business of the heart in a skillful way is hugely important if we are interested in experiencing true freedom in the present moment.
True.
What doesn't serve you doesn't deserve you. But it takes courage to let go. One afternoon in the wild of Montana, I was honored to go on a journey with a former Army Ranger. Because it was early March in Montana, the ground was still covered with snow and ice. We wore crampons, spikes on the bottom of our shoes, gaiters, knee-high covers to keep the snow from getting in our boots, and used trekking poles to maintain our balance through the rough mountain terrain. There were no trails, at least no human trails. We followed natural paths created by moose, deer, mountain lions, and grizzly bears. And we had this guard dog with us. His name was Eddie. He was our first defense to alert us should we encounter any danger. And Eddie's nose was like a satellite dish, constantly scanning for other animals and threats.
Eddie is basically a dog, guide dog.
After about an hour of a heart astounding ascent, we finally arrived to a clearing where there was a massive pile of stones and rocks. This was no ordinary pile of rocks. The Army Ranger I was with was the head of a Special Forces organization. One of their ongoing programs was for kids who had lost their parent in military combat, and they would be united with their deceased parent's friend who had fought alongside of them. For days, the kid and the mentor would move through various rituals as a way of healing from the loss. One of these rituals involved carrying a stone in their backpacks at the top of the mountain. This is where the stories were told, many tears were shed, and the stone was taken out of the backpack and placed ceremoniously on the pile as if to say goodbye and to release the burden of sorrow, pain, despair.
True.
Sadly, when I witnessed the sacred memorial of the fallen soldiers, there were hundreds, maybe even thousands of rocks. Some of them were so large I couldn't imagine what it must have taken to get it up the mountain. But I could imagine that it paled in comparison to the emotional weight that was released. This act planted the seed for true healing to take place. Letting go is much easier said than done, because in order to heal a wound, you have to feel.
Letting go, अपने wound को heal करने के लिए आप
Sometimes
कर
there's
सकते
a
हैं
part of us that keeps
heart का जो
clinging to the
beginning है
pain
unfinished
despite
beginning
the harm we
उसको
know
use
that
कर
it
सकते हैं
causes. When the dysfunctional ego is running the show, we become
Dysfunctional
loyal
ego.
to our sufferings. This is why letting go, detachment, and non-grasping are key teachings across many of the wisdom traditions. A Zen master stood in front of her students holding a glass of water in her hands and asked, "How much do you think this glass of water weighs?" "About 300 grams, the students answered. "And what happens if I hold the glass for a few minutes?" "Probably nothing," responded the students. "And what if I hold this glass for an hour?" asked the teacher. "Then your hand will start to get tired. And what if I hold this glass for a few hours? Your arm will probably start to hurt. And what if I hold it for a whole day? Then your hand will become numb and your arm may even become paralyzed," one of the students replied. "That's right," the master continued. "But has the weight of the glass ever changed?" "No," the students responded. "So where did the pain come from?" "It came from the pain of holding on to the glass over a long period of time. So what do I need to do to get rid of the pain and suffering?" The student said, "Set the glass down." "That's right," the master replied. The same happens with all of life's problems. Holding on to them in your mind and your heart.
So दोस्तों ये बड़ी अच्छी एग्जांपल दी है कि हम ग्लास को अगर होल्ड करते हैं उसको थोड़ी देर के लिए इशू नहीं होगा, आवर्स के लिए मे बी हमें हर्ट स्टार्ट हो, फिर अगर डेज के लिए या हम 2 दिन के लिए इसको होल्ड करना पड़े, ज़हर हमारा बाजू आम शल हो जाएगा। इस तरह से हमारी ज़िंदगी में बेशुमार चैलेंजेस आते हैं, इंसिडेंट्स आते हैं, जो फैमिली की तरफ से होते हैं, जो दोस्तों या वर्क प्लेस की तरफ से होते हैं, उनको अपने ज़हन में होल्ड कर लेते हैं। दैट इज़ कॉल्ड अनफिनिश्ड बिजनेस ऑफ द हार्ट। और वो हमें उससे हमारा माइंड सफ़र हो रहा है, और हमें बाहर तो नहीं फील हो रहा, लेकिन इंटरनली माइंड सफ़र हो रहा है। जिस तरह हम बताते हैं कि अगर हम नेक सीधी रखते हैं तो हमारा ये सही रहता है। अगर हम यहाँ पे इसको डाउन करते हैं थोड़ा, देखिए तो 18 पाउंड वजन हमारे शोल्डर पे आ जाता है, मसल्स के ऊपर। आल्दो में उसका अंदाज़ा नहीं है, फिजिकली नहीं दिख रहा, लेकिन जो लॉन्ग टाइम तक दें तो आपको शाम को फील होता है कि मेरे कंधे थक गए हैं, मसल छल हो रहे हैं। इसी तरीके से जो अनफिनिश्ड बिजनेस ऑफ द हार्ट है, वो यही है कि हम अपनी ज़िंदगी में जो चैलेंजेस इस तरह आते हैं, बता उनको हमें डील करना है। उसको आप भी डील कर सकते हैं और फिर उनसे आपने गेट रेडी करना है, और वो है योगा के टूल। और फर्दर आगे हम सुनते हैं कि ये जो उसको क्या हमें टिप्स मिल रहे हैं इससे। लेट्स लिसन।
For a few minutes doesn't hurt. Yet, if you keep thinking about them for hours, you will experience some increased pain. And then if you ruminate on them all day long, week after week, month after month, year after year, you become paralyzed with your own pain and suffering. To alleviate this suffering, simply let go.
Let go. पहला टूल let
be,
go.
and then become free. For many years, many of us have been holding on to anger, rage, resentment, shame, guilt, betrayal. When we hold on to this toxicity, it poisons ourselves. A study conducted at Ohio State University found that those who had less control over their anger tended to heal more slowly from wounds. It also affects our behavior and how we move through life. In another study conducted at Stanford University, 104 subjects were assigned to two groups. One group wrote an essay about a time they were bored, and the other group wrote about a time they were wronged or slighted by someone. Afterward, the participants were asked to help the researchers with an easy task. Those who wrote about being wronged were 26% less likely to help researchers. And in a similar study, participants not only demonstrated selfish attitudes, but were also more likely to leave behind trash and even take the researchers' pens. The author Paulo Coelho says, if it costs you your peace, it is too expensive. What's costing you your peace? When something bad happens to you, you always have two choices. You either become wounded or you become wise. Becoming wise often requires the practice of forgiveness. It's written in the Bhagavad Gita, if you want to see the brave, look to those who can forgive. A 14-year-old boy shot and killed an innocent teenage boy to prove himself to a gang. At the end of the trial, the victim's mom slowly stood up, staring at the now convicted murderer, said, "I'm going to kill you." After a year had passed, the mother went to see her son's killer. She continued to visit him from time to time, bringing money for cigarettes, food, and small gifts. When his 3-year sentence was finished, she set him up with a job. When she found out he had no family to stay with, she offered her spare bedroom. For 8 months, he lived there, ate her food, and worked his job. One evening, she called him into the living room to talk. She sat across from him, and after several moments in silence asked, "Do you remember in the courtroom when I said I was going to kill you?" "I sure do," he replied. "I did not want a boy who could kill my son for no reason and remain alive on this earth. I wanted him to die. That's why I got you the job and let you live here in my house. That's how I set about changing you. And that boy, he's gone. Now I want to ask you, since my son is gone and that killer is gone, if you'll stay here with me. I've got plenty of room and I'd like to adopt you if you'll let me." And she became the mother of her son's killer, the mother he never had. This story illustrates the immeasurable power of forgiveness and what's possible when we let go.
Let go and forgiveness.
Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "Misfortune brings this one blessing to whom it always assails. It eventually fortifies." In other words, our most challenging lessons often become our greatest blessings, making us stronger, more fortified, and bringing us back to wholeness. In the poem The Unbroken by Rashani Ray, she writes, "There is a brokenness out of which comes the unbroken, and a fragility out of whose depths emerges strength. There is a hollow space too vast for words through which we pass with each loss, out of whose darkness we are sanctioned into being. There is a cry deeper than all sound, whose serrated edges cut the heart as we break open to the place inside which is unbreakable and whole. The obstacle is the way. The challenges we face are an inherent part of our spiritual path. And you're not alone. You are not alone. This is part of the human experience. You have the courage and strength to endure. Continue to practice the art of letting go and allow the great winds of life to carry you along your path. And now to finish, a beautiful blessing from Chief Dan George. May the stars carry your sadness away. May the flowers fill your heart with beauty. May hope forever wipe away your tears. And above all, may silence make you strong.
Silence.
I invite you to look through this section of your workbook and explore the themes, questions, and prompts. See you in the next video. Namaste.
चल दोस्तों, अपने सुना कि ज़िंदगी में जो चैलेंजेस, जितना बड़ा चैलेंज होगा उतनी बड़ी लर्निंग होगी लाइफ में, और चैलेंजेस हमेशा आपको नेक्स्ट स्टेप पे ले जाने के लिए आते हैं। उससे हमें घबराना नहीं चाहिए और ऐसा फील नहीं करना चाहिए जो इससे में ज़िंदगी में कोई प्रॉब्लम हो। तो आप इसको सुनिए, प्लीज़ 2-3 दफ़ा सुनिए, आपको समझ आएगी चीज़ों को। जो विज़डम टॉक्स हैं उसको हमेशा सुन के एक आधी बात जो है बंदा बात कर पिक कर लेता है, उससे लाइफ बंदे की चेंज होती है। तो लेट गो और माफ़ करना, ये 2 बेसिक जो टूल हैं ज़िंदगी में। और तीसरा जो है वो पेशेंस, सब्र करना, और चौथा साइलेंस, खामोशी इख्तियार करना और उसके बारे में गुफ्तगू ना करना। तो अपना ख्याल रखिएगा, हमारी मुलाकात होगी नेक्स्ट वीडियो में। अल्लाह हाफ़िज़।